Now, oil prices ticked higher in early trade on Thursday as investors weighed the escalating conflict in the Middle East as the potential for disruption to crude flows against an amply supplied global market. Brent crude increased by 0.93% to $74.59 a barrel as at 2:48 GMT. US WTI gained 0.98% to $70.83 a barrel. The recent move by the federal government to end the opaque domestic crude allocation scheme, which has been in place for 20 years, is anticipated to have a positive effect on the domestic fuel supply chain and increase transparency in the industry. Dangote Refinery and other local refineries will begin receiving sales of crude oil denominated in Naira in October. This was justified by the argument that an exclusive domestic allocation of crude oil will ensure energy security, decouple the price of refined petroleum products from fluctuations in foreign exchange rates and the price of crude oil, and guarantee sufficient supplies of refined petroleum products within the nation. Due to the amount of crude oil the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and the Nigeria government have at their disposal, the Naira-For-Crude agreement is now limited to Dangote Refinery, according to the Crude Oil Refinery Owners Association of Nigeria. Now, this was revealed in an interview with CORAN spokesperson Eche Idoko. His remarks coincide with the federal government's announcement on Tuesday that the Naira-For-Crude sale agreement to Dangote Refinery has begun. Idoko clarified that the Dangote Refinery is the sole refiner of petroleum products in the country, which produces premium motor spirit, which is why the plant is the recipient of the Naira-For-Crude sale agreement. Now, Dolapo Okulaja-Kotun, who is Board of Trustees member, Vice Chairperson, Crude Oil Refinery Owners Association of Nigeria, joins me now to discuss this further. Dolapo, good morning to you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Good morning, Abby. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. It's my pleasure as well. Well, let's begin with, oil prices have leapt as Middle East tensions escalate. Now, many would see this as a positive sign for Nigeria's fiscal position, while for others, it simply translates to higher petrol prices. How really should we read this development?
Well, it's a two-pronged fork. Ordinarily, economically speaking, when the price of crude oil goes up, it should be seen as a positive thing for the revenue of a country like Nigeria. But on the other side, when crude oil prices go up, then the cost of refinery, the cost of the raw product is higher. So without any doubt, the cost of the actual PMS, the petroleum, AG, and other products will actually go up as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's quite self-explanatory.
So it's positive for positive revenue for the country, but for the consumer, it amounts to an increase in prices.
So a double-edged sword, like you did mention there, an interesting one there. Well,
exactly.
Absolutely. Now to a much awaited event. What is your perspective on the Naira-For-Crude deal? How do you think it will impact the country's refining sector?
Well, we think it's a very, very good and positive move by the government of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's a position that CORAN has been fighting and advocating and discussing with the government for the past 4 years. Our initial paper to the government about modular refinery and how it can actually help in ensuring the energy security of Nigeria. It was one of our major points that as domestic refiners, we should be able to buy crude oil in Naira. So it's something that the association has been advocating for 4 years, and we're happy to see that the present government is actually trying to actualize it.
Yes, this has certainly been very highly anticipated, and hopefully we will reap the rewards of that wait. But now we know that no other refinery is selling petrol currently, although we know that other refineries such as Clear Gold, Aradel, Azekel are currently working on this. Do you have any insight into when other refineries, apart from the Dangote refinery, of course, might be included in this deal?
Okay, the inclusion of the deal, it doesn't really depend on us. The executive director of FIRST should be the one that will actually tell us when our other members will be able to start enjoying the benefits of paying for their crude in Naira. But currently, like you said, the only operating refinery that is producing PMS, and PMS obviously is the most important product right now, is the most sought after of the refined products. But it's not the only refined products that the refineries produce, because we also produce diesel, we produce kerosene, we produce high power fuel oil and other products that are much needed by the consumers as well. So right now, yes, Dangote is the only one producing PMS, but like you rightly said, Ezekiel, Watersmith, Aradel, Frau Refinery, and others are coming along that will also start producing PMS.
All right, absolutely. And,
so first is the one that will answer that question. We're ready. We're ready.
Okay, I like that. And of course, here's another question that is, should be more targeted at the NNPC. But the Port Harcourt refinery has missed its rehabilitation deadline for the 7th time. And as I mentioned, this is probably not a question for you, but I'm interested to get your opinion on some of the likely underlying issues there. Why do we have this situation?
Well, like you rightly said, that is not a question for CORAN. It's a question for NNPC and the other government departments that are involved in the rehabilitation of the refinery. NNPC, having those refineries up and coming, it's to our benefit. So as to why they are not up and running yet is not a question that CORAN can answer. I can only answer for my association members who are, working day and night to ensure that their refineries, modular refineries, most of them, are up and running as quickly as possible.
All right, very well said. And talking about that, let's get a bit more granular now. What specific challenges do local modular refineries such as yours face in trying to meet Nigeria's fuel demands? Okay,
so when CORAN started, we were called by the then DPR as stakeholders and license holders in 2020, immediately after COVID. And it was as a product of that meeting that CORAN was developed. And in the course of developing, we actually gave the government 7-point referendum, telling them about what we needed, what were the gaps, and what could help to ensure sustainability in that. So the main goal of CORAN is to ensure that domestic refinery capacity is increased by our members and other players on the platform, and to ensuring that will also help us to become a net exporter of petroleum products. So the main problems that we've been having is actually there's a lot of red tape in getting licenses and revalidation of licenses that has been expired. The association is working with NNDPR on that. There's a lot of issues around how, getting funding for our projects. And I remember in 2020, the former Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum, he set up 2 steering committees. One was for the intervention funding for modular refineries, and the other one was to make Nigeria a technical hub of quality refined petroleum products. I was on that committee, as well as about 14 other stakeholders, to see how the government could help in providing kind of like a bridge loan to modular refineries and other refineries so that they will be better placed to chase foreign funding. So licensing, funding, and then of course the big one is actually getting a frequent, regular supply in Naira of crude oil.
Yeah, those are really sore points.
So those are the main constraints.
Yeah, they really are sticking sore points. And, red tape and funding, like you mentioned, have been issues for time immemorial, if we have to be quite factual, actually. But how optimistic are you that these efforts will yield timely results? Of course, you've been in this mix for quite a bit.
I've been in the mix for the past 7 years with my own, our own refinery in Akwa Ibom is Ikwauna. We're trying to build a 5,000 barrel a day refinery there. And we actually, that's just the first phase. We intend to do an integrated energy park. So the future is looking very promising. We are hopeful that what the outcome of that committee that I told you about in 2020, like in setting up the intervention funding for such projects as ours, modular refinery projects, will actually come to pass. We know that the government has given out a lot of money for gas. There's a lot of horror around gas, but the point of the fact is that fossil fuel is not going to go away anytime soon, because most of the products that we use on a daily basis in our homes for transportation from energy stems from fossil fuels. So and in order to secure Nigeria's energy security, the government should be proactively and intentionally assisting us to access funds, whether locally or whether offshore, so that in a matter of months, because to set up a 5,000 barrel, it only takes 18 months. And about $60 million, which is not a lot compared to the billions that have already been spent. And we have right now 4 modular refineries and 1 conventional, being Dangote in operation. And we have 15 in development who are not able to go beyond a certain gate because they still do not have access to the funds that they need.
Right, and these steps
So the future is promising, but we need support.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Support is crucial. And of course, in terms of steps that should be taken to address these challenges and boost the efficiency of local refineries, do you have any insight as to the kind of communication and feedback you're receiving from the government and in terms of moving forward? Of course, these conversations are happening, but what kind of feedback are you receiving?
Okay, the feedback is positive. I mean, since the government of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu came, he started with removing the subsidy, and then, it was a step in the right forward. I mean, a step in the right direction, sorry. And we believe that his government are intentional about ensuring that domestic capacity of refining is increased, because economically it doesn't add any value to us exporting all of our crude oil, only to import it back as refined products that are have less quality than what we have in Nigeria. Because Nigerian crude is sold as a premium, and we have some of the best crude oil in the country. Meanwhile, we're not importing top quality crude oil because really we can't afford it. But we know that with constant communication, NNDPRA, we've been working with them for the past 2 years on so many issues that are bound, that came out of PIA. And, they're listening. They're listening. The only issue that we're having right now is the slowness of implementation, because what needs to be done has already been earmarked, already written in black and white. Is just how is it going to be implemented? Because it needs to be implemented in a timely manner so that the Nigerian citizens can start enjoying the benefits of our oil-rich nation. And the only way to do that is to ensure that we are intentional about increasing our domestic refining capacity. And the goal is to supply our citizens with the products that they need, and then also at a stage, I hope not too far in the future, that Nigeria would now become a net exporter of these refined products, so that Nigeria would now start earning foreign exchange in these refined products instead of spending foreign exchange to get these refined products into the nation.
Yeah, intentionality is certainly very key. And I can tell, from this discussion that you certainly have a very optimistic outlook on it. But let's get your overall outlook on Nigeria's refining capacity and its potential to meet domestic fuel needs.
Like I said, it's all about intentionality, and not just having policies and all that in place, but actually implementing. Implementation is key. Right now, we have, like I said, 4 modular refineries, 1 conventional refinery, and we have 15 more that are in the development stages. And it only makes common sense and economical sense to ensure that these refineries that are in development, that these license holders like myself have spent a lot of money developing to the approval to construct stage, so that we can now get to the next, get over that gate and get to the next bit, as actually fabricating and constructing these refineries all over Nigeria. Like, those refineries are spread all over the Niger Delta state, which means that domestically there's a vast potential of citizens within those localities getting cheaper petroleum products once these refineries are up and running. And these, we are focusing more on modular refineries simply because it's less capital intensive and it's quicker to market. That is what we need right now, is the solution that we need right now to get as many of these modular refineries up and going, so that we'll have more refined products in the market to give our citizens, and to ensure above all our energy security in Nigeria, and to ensure that Nigeria and not Ghana becomes a technical hub for exporting refined petroleum products.
All right, very cogent points there, not to mention important work. I've been talking to Dolapo Okulaja-Kotun, who is the Vice Chairperson, Crude Oil Refineries Owners Association of Nigeria. Many thanks for joining us on the Global Business Report today, and we hope to see you again soon.